Canada needs a national strategy to monitor gambling-related harms. That is according to a new report by the group that wrote Canada's alcohol guidelines. Recent policy changes have meant you can legally bet on sports and gamble online 24 hours a day. There's also been a big increase in gambling advertising. The Canadian Centre on Substance Use and Addiction published a call to action today. It wants political leaders to treat gambling websites more like places where you can get alcohol, tobacco, and marijuana. My next guest is one of the authors of this report. Matthew Young is the Chief Research Officer at Greo Evidence Insights and a Senior Research Associate with the Canadian Centre on Substance Use and Addiction, and he joins us tonight from Ottawa. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
What is it about the increase in online gambling that has prompted you to issue this report?
Well, for one thing, most of your viewers tonight will have recognized the incredible increase in gambling advertising that just seems to be present whenever, especially when one watches any kind of sporting events, but really when one is driving down the highway or online or on Twitter or anything like that. I mean, we just see the gambling advertising everywhere. And we also know that the new gambling environment also permits people to gamble on online or on their cell phones, which permits them to be able to gamble 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Before recent policy changes, most of the time, if somebody wanted to gamble, they would have to go down to their local corner store, or they would go to an establishment like a casino or a sports bookie, and that kind of has all changed in the last few years.
Yeah, literally, it's in the palm of your hand now. So, what were the most troubling findings from your research, or was that one of them?
Well, the report really is a call to action. Like what we have seen is two policy changes kind of set a lot of the things that we see right now into motion. The first was what was called the Safe and Regulated Sports Betting Act, which occurred in 2021. And what it did is it allowed people, whereas previously people could only gamble on the outcome of a set of games or a series, it allowed people to bet on single events. And so what that did is it sped up the rate at which one could bet on sport events or other kind of events. Suddenly, when it used to be that you place a bet and then wait till the outcome of a series, which is a bit like a lottery ticket. You buy a lottery ticket and you find out if your numbers came in a few days later. Suddenly, it turned it into a bit more like a slot machine or an electronic gaming machine. You could bet on who's going to win the coin toss, who's going to win the first face-off, who's going to score the first goal, things like that. And so a lot of those kinds of things were ushered in with the Safe and Regulated Sports Betting Act. The other thing that changed dramatically the landscape in Canada was the decision by the Ontario government to allow private international large gambling operators to come in and provide their websites and their apps directly to consumers in the province of Ontario. This meant that a whole bunch of operators rushed into the new market and started competing for customers. And what ended up happening is a lot of these sites, like the FanDuels and things like that, which are still technically legal in most provinces in Canada, still those provinces outside Ontario still are receiving advertising for those products.
So two quick questions here to end off. Who's most at risk, or do you know the demographic most at risk? And really, ultimately, what do you want done?
So in terms of at risk, so one of the calls that we have in our report is to really call on we need to have national monitoring and surveillance of gambling related harm. We don't know how many people are being harmed by this. The early numbers are troubling. There was over $63 billion wagered in the province of Ontario in fiscal year 2022-2023. We're concerned about youth. New stats have shown that problem gambling rates among those aged 18 to 34 are troublingly high. So those are the groups that we're looking to that may be most harmed. In our call to action, what we're really calling for is a kind of an unconflicted source, so a group like the Canadian Centre on Substance Use and Addiction or others, to bring stakeholders together and to have kind of to move forward when it comes to gambling policy in a sober, thoughtful way, rather than simply a haphazard approach where we don't really, we haven't really thought about what the harms emerging from these policy decisions can be. Another element that we're calling for is some strategy to monitor harms associated with gambling availability and advertising. Right now, there is no national monitoring initiative to be able to detect harms if and when they emerge from this proliferation of gambling advertising and availability.
All right, Doctor, appreciate that. That is Matthew Young, who is one of the authors of a report calling for a national strategy to address gambling-related harms.